We begin this morning with the camels again. Chapter 24, verse 11, Parachav Dalet, Pasuk Yud Aleph, and Parshat Chayei Sarah. We continue our studies in Chumash. Last thing we talked about was the reality of 10 camels going and the notion of an entourage associated with and around Eliezer, as Chazal identify him, as the Pshat calls him, the Eved Avram, going to find a wife for Yitzchak Avinu. In Pasuk Yud Aleph, Vayavrech hagmalim michutz la'ir el be'er hamayim le'eit erev le'eit tzeit hashoavot. Vayavrech milashon berech, knees. He caused the camels to kneel. They're at rest. So that was just outside the city, and specifically at a be'er mayim, specifically at the well in the eventide, when those who are out to draw water would draw water. So a lot of information in one pasuk. First of all, it was a very quick journey, yeah? However long it took. And Chazal have their own idea that they describe about this, but just on the level of Pshat, what do we know about his journey? Nothing. It's immaterial. He goes straight from he left to he arrived, because that's all we need to know. So it reminds us, though, the passage of time in Tanakh, sometimes from one pasuk to the next could be a few weeks or a few days or even a few years. And at other times, it could be instantaneous. So bookmark that I said that when we get to Pasuk Mem something, Mem Aleph, Mem Bet, we'll see that this will come up again. And there, Rashi will have ideas based on Chazal, which I'll come to when we get there, just sort of bookmark it. But he caused them to be outside, specifically at a well. Why at a well? You have to unmute, Karen. I can't hear you.
It's where people gather.
Yep, it's a gathering place. It's the pub, but instead of it was a watering hole, quite literally a watering hole. No one has indoor plumbing. That's where they get the water from. So everyone has to go out to get water, and therefore it's the marketplace of all marketplaces. Unlike a marketplace, though, where there's buying and selling. If you've ever been to Machane Yehuda and you walk through on a Friday, and people are shouting at each other, how much dag b'shekel and anavim triim or whatever else they're selling over there. So the well is not that way because the water is not for sale. It's there for the taking for everyone. It's also a great equalizer. Anyone who's there has a basic human need that needs to be fulfilled. Some of them Farshim though point out the idea that here the people who were getting the water from the well specifically were not wealthy people. The Malbim points this out. He says wealthy people sent servants and slaves and maidservants. They didn't go themselves. They certainly didn't send their children. In what circumstance is there going to be a maiden going out to get water? It's the people who are poor. Malbim seems to use the word poor, but I would say even people who are middle class, they don't have a staff. They have to go themselves. That's all. There was no such thing as the middle class, obviously, in antiquity, but the idea that you're sending your daughter out by herself to go get water. How did that happen? Okay, because that's how it works. The Malbim goes further and says part of this was a very natural strategy on the part of the servant of Avraham. What kind of a girl will be from what kind of a family where the family will permit her to travel intercity with a servant? Not an aristocratic one who is so high and mighty and so wealthy that all they'll want is that the new son-in-law should come to live with them. So the Malbim writes, they'll also, this family will be very honored that they see such wealth. It's It's Lahavdol, Elfa Feavdol. It's an aspect of the Cinderella story, right? That the servant is coming to fit the shoe on whoever it fits. But the idea that he arrives with all sorts of royalty and she's plain, she's fine, whatever, but it's her. So that dynamic, Khalila, to make direct comparisons, just saying, but there's something here about, her being willing to go along, and the family being wowed by, convinced by, whatever you want to say, the fact that this dignitary has sent his chief of staff to find a wife, and she's the one who was chosen. Right, a common theme, perhaps, but it's not the two royal families, Lahavdol Fe'avdol, from Germany and England marrying into each other. He went to the well to see who was going to be there. Very technically, the Abarbanel says that it was always La'at Erev in the evening time that they went to go draw the water, because when it was the middle of the noontime hour, it was very hot, and the water therefore was heated up more, and it was not as fresh. That's what he claims. I don't know. And that also it was harder for the women to carry the water because it was the sun beating down on them. So they come in the evening specifically. Choliot, the Tiferet Yehonatan is a bit of a different idea I have here in the Otzon of Farshia Torah. He says, well, it's something much more prosaic, even than having to do with climate. It has to do with who's going to be at the well. And the people at the well in the middle of the day may be shepherds who will try to chase them away. That's pulling from another story we have in Tanakh, from Sefer Shmot Perek Bet. Moshe Rabbeinu arrives at the well, and there are women there, and they're being chased away by shepherds. So the shepherds will have gone home by then with their flocks, and therefore the women will not be maligned or assaulted in any way, or whatever it is, by shepherds. So maybe that's the description. Okay. Now the Abarbanel has another beautiful idea here about why Eliezer gravitated toward a well. Less because that's where the people are, right? It's not because of the Willie Sutton reason. Willie Sutton, famous bank robber, right? Why do you rob banks? And he answered, that's where the money is. So that's right. Then he did tshuva, and he became like a front man for what was it, American Express or something, right? So I think that's him. Pretty sure he was the guy. Anyway, neither here nor there. I digress. There's a very spiritual reason why Eliezer chooses this place. It's a place that typically has divine revelation near it. When Hagar HaMitzrit feels so lost, she goes to the well, and there an angel appears to her. When Avram Avinu wants to set up shop and plant an orchard, or maybe set up an inn, depending on which position of the Gemara one accepts. So that's also at a place called Be'er Sheva. So he understands, thinking about going to the well is going to a place where perhaps there's something there that makes it more spiritually what's the word, calibrated for spiritual things to happen. Pardon?
Conducive.
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Now, why might that be? He might maybe just say, well, these are the stories that I know, and this happened in my own lifetime. God appeared to Avram in Beersheba, the angel appeared to Hagar at the well. Could be. Another one is that, of course, again, sort of joining the Abarbanel, what I mentioned before about the Malbim. Not the Malbim. I didn't say it in anyone's name. Just that the well is a place that's a great equalizer. Everyone has needs. So if you're going to a well, it means that you have a need. You lack something. Hein be'olam hagashmi, hein be'olam haruchani, both in the world of the physical and the world of the spiritual. So a person going to the well is open to receiving whatever they're receiving. The gashmiyut and the physicality is water, but spiritually, maybe Ruach HaKodesh, some such thing, and maybe that's why he chose it. That's Abarbanel, that he went there to be in that place. The Rokeach, maybe the Abarbanel was based in the Rokeach. I don't know, the Rokeach lived before him. The Baal HaRokeach lived a little bit earlier. He thinks that really it's a place of tahara, because if it's a well, then probably it's a natural well of some sort, and therefore it's like a mikvah, and therefore that's great. That's a good place to be davening. It's a nice idea, a bit mystical, but that's what makes it nice. Okay, let's go to the tefillah itself. Vayomar, and Vayomar, if you know the cantillation, is a shalshelet. It's the longest note that we have. It goes 3 times. So Vayomar. So it goes in, right? So it means usually someone holding on that word, meaning whatever it was that he said, he held what he was saying, i.e., he drew it out in a call it a thoughtful or meditative way. Vayomar Hashem Elokei Adoni Avraham Hakreina Lefana Hayom Va'aseh Chesed Im Adoni Avraham. In this pasuk, to me, it's already the embryonic form of what will become the Amida, another aspect of it. One aspect comes from Shem ben Noach in chapter 14, when Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem, Chazal tell us Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem is none other than Shem ben Noach, refers to the notion of Kodesh Baruch Hu as Konei Shamayim Va'aretz. Konei Shamayim Va'aretz. And here we have the idea of mentioning, not Avot, but the Adon of the Rebbe of Avram, of Eved Avram is Avraham, right? So Eliezer understands that if he wants to talk to Hashem, he wants to daven, how does he introduce himself? He doesn't have a patriarchal line to follow. He has a master, a teacher. So Hashem, who is the God of my master Avraham, cause it to happen before me, right? Array before me what I need, kind of thing. Hakrei lefana, like a mikre is a happening, but usually it means happenstance. It means like cause it to happen before me today, and do chesed. There's that word chesed with my master Avraham. It's not for my sake; it's my master Avraham, right? So we refer to God as a gomel chasadim tovim. That God is a one who bestows kindnesses, good kindnesses. V'konei hakol, that word v'konei hakol, that's again from Shem ben Noach. So I have this theory that Anshe Knesset Agdola, of course, they took the language Elokei Avram, Elokei Yaakov from later on in the Torah at the Sneh. That's what Hashem talks to Moshe Rabbeinu and uses that language. That's what Chazal use in the first brach of the Amida. Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora are all expressions that appear in the book of Devarim that Moshe Rabbeinu himself speaks in chapter 10, Parak Yud. Kel Elyon, right? Gomel, Kel Elyon, the supreme God, that's Shem ben Noach. Gomel Chasadim Tovim, it's Eliezer. V'konei Hakol, back to Shem ben Noach. Yeah. So there's something here, and the introductory words before the request is praising Hashem as the God of my master Avraham, and cause to happen before me, do kindness for my master Avraham. It's an interesting idea. Exactly, and as Karen writes in, we associate Avram with Chesed specifically. So. Who does chesed? Avram does chesed emulating God, but who does chesed? Hashem does chesed. So please do for me. Now, something else. If you recall the conversation between Avram Avinu and his Eved, just a few short psukim ago, in the conversation, Avram Avinu, in verse 3, chapter 24, verse 3, pasuk Gimel, mentions a description of God also. Calls him Hashem Elokei Hashemayim Elokei Haaretz. So how come when Avram Avinu speaks, he says that, but Eliezer doesn't? He reaches for Hashem Elokei, not Hashemayim Elokei Haaretz, but Hashem Elokei Adoni Avraham. The Mefarshim were sensitive to this. The Abarbanel, again, he says he didn't think he was worthy of pronouncing the name of Hashem and describing Hashem as the God of heaven and the God of earth, as Avram Avinu had said. He thought maybe he's not on that level. His relationship to understanding Hashem was mediated through his Rebbe, Elokei Adoni Avram. Avram is the one who understands the kinuyim, how to give cognates or nicknames of some sort, not diminutive, but other expressions of language to talk about God's name. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, well, he didn't want to say Elokei Hashemayim Elokei Haaretz. He dafka wanted to say Elokei Adoni Avram because he recalled that the prayer of his master was Hu Yishlach Malacho. God will send his angel before. So therefore, all Eliezer has to daven for is that what Avram said should come true, should be fulfilled. All right. So now he adds on to daven, basically, I hope I'll be the one who's worthy of being that one who will have assistance brought to him, i.e., to be able to have a match found for Yitzchak. Shelley, please go ahead.
Is the issue one of agency? Why the two prayers would be different, or why you'd accent God differently?
Yeah.
An agent of Abraham.
That's one of the ideas for sure.
Okay.
For sure. And that's kind of what the Orach Chaim is saying. Since my master already appointed me, and he said he will set that God will send his angel before me to help make it happen. Now I'm davening to Hashem that what my master davened for should actually happen, and that it shouldn't be on my account that there is some kind of obstacle to this actually happening. Rav Avram ben Arambam, by the by, says that this introductory phrase that was spoken teaches us that he thought in his heart, I will be successful. He had confidence with what Hashem was asking, what he was asking from Hashem. And it wasn't going to be, as we're going to find out with the sign, he knew it was going to be successful. And maybe the sign had some other element to it. I'll have to come into it shortly. By the by, what I said before about the Shmoneh Esrei, it said, if you look in the Hemek Davar, there's a hint to it. The Hemek Davar says this is the Shevach, the praise of God. There's an organization to prayer. Prayer has to have, when it's tefillah, Shevach, praise, bakasha, request or petition, and then hoda'ah, thanksgiving. And we see that pattern already with Eliezer. Sorry, I didn't make this up. So it's in the Hemek Davar. So he goes along these lines. Therefore, Hashem Elokei Adoni Avraham, that's the Shevach. The bakasha, Hakrein Lefanai Yom Vaseh Chesed Adoni Avraham. And now he's going to explain what that is, what that chesed might be. We know it because we've already read the story many, many times, just a few weeks ago. But put yourself in his shoes. He's trying to figure things out. Now, what we're going to read next, the Gemara Masechet Tanit on Daf Dalid lists Eliezer Eved Avraham. It names him as one of three people who asked for something in an inappropriate way, and yet they were responded to in an appropriate way. They got what they wanted. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonatan, Shlosh Shalu Shlo Kehogen Lishnayim Heshivu Kahogen Le'echad Heshivu Shelo Kehogen. And here they are. Number one is Eliezer Eved Avraham, first one on the list, and it's going to be what we're going to see now, that he set up the test altogether, because it's not clear that he needed the test. Meaning, what would have happened if you just davened? Can you show me who it is? But he didn't do that. He went a little further. He set up sort of like a little test for whoever it was going to be that he was going to find. Chazal, at least Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani, seems to criticize it, which is interesting because when I read it on the level of Pshat, it seems to me like, well, he shouldn't have relied on a nace. Did he think there was going to be a halo over the right person? Was she supposed to like come over and trip over the camels and like, oh, let me help you up? Oh, by the way, like. But instead, he goes further. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Hine anochi nitzav al ein hamayim, uvnot anshe ha'ir yotzot lishov mayim. He's already almost telling the story to Hashem. Hashem knows, but the point is, there are a lot of people coming and going, and I could get my own. I'm already here, right? And the point is, I'm already here. I could get my own water. I don't actually really need someone else to do it for me. Again, a Barbanel and a Barbanel and Malbim. The point is, I'm not going to go get the water, so let's see what happens. Yeah, because after all, he's able-bodied, he's there, he's wealthy, he's powerful, and he's at the place with all the camels. So why can he get his own water? So he's pointing out what he sees. He sees here, behold, I'm here at the edge of the water, and the daughters of the people of the city are coming out to draw water. Asher umar eleh hatina chadech ve'eshte ve'amrashte ve'gam gmalecha ashke ota huchachta la'abdecha liyitzchak uvah eda ki asita chesed im adoni. So highly irregular and unusual that a young girl should be speaking to a man at a well in antiquity. Highly unusual. The fact that he would therefore open and say to her, "Can you please tip over your jug so that I may drink?" She's going to not only agree but take the initiative regarding the camels, right? The cod here is not a small thing. It's not like a little pitcher. It's a big jug. So this is to tip it is a big deal. And to consider what that means. The idea that she's willing to be helpful, and the Akedat Yitzchak, one of the medieval Chachamim, Rav Yitzchak Arama, says that this woman was going to be thinking to herself, wait a second, why is he asking for water? He's over here himself. Why doesn't he go get it himself? Right? Either he's doing this because he's so refined and he can't, or he's ill, or he's in pain, or maybe he's just very lazy. In other words, the Akedat Yitzchak says, by asking this question, Eliezer is causing this young girl to open up all sorts of possibilities in her mind, both positive and negative, or I should say sympathetic reasons and non-sympathetic reasons for why she would want to help or not help. She could say to him, "What are you, lazy?" She could jump to that conclusion. She could assume something else, right? If he is not drinking himself, all the more so he's not going to be feeding his camels, right? And therefore, if she takes the initiative also, throws in about the camels, that shows that really her thought process is positive. She's projecting not only can he not get the water for himself, but his camels are also not able to get the water, obviously, right? But the point is she's sort of projecting the needs of the camels, not just because, as we learn it in grade school, rightly so, she cares about animals. It's a beautiful idea. But before that even, she cares about the person who's in charge of feeding the animals, who's not able to do so. And she could have just jumped to the conclusion that he's probably just a lazy guy. No, maybe he's in pain. Maybe he's sick, some such thing. And the Kli Yakar basically writes that, no, you know what? He basically said, the Eved said, I'm not going to mention the camels. If she thinks about it, then that's for sure that Hashem is speaking through her, if you will, or that's the sign that the camels should belong to her, and when Yitzchak will marry her, therefore there's like some element here that if she has an awareness that they will be hers, it's somewhere between sensitivity and premonition. I might not be understanding the Kli Yakar perfectly, but it doesn't really sing to me personally to go in that direction. Now, the Beit Halevi quoted here in the footnotes in the Otzma Farshei Torah says very, very nicely, there are three attributes that are being tested here. First is her manner or her composition good to give water to someone she doesn't know. And specifically, when he said Hatina kadech ve'eshteh, what it means is tip your big jug and let me drink from it. Meaning he's going to drink directly from the cod. It's like this big thing. He's going to drink from your pitcher. It's like, could you pour me a glass of water? So his lips are going to be on it. So is she willing to get over that? Number one. Number two, does she think that she decides she's not going to take the rest of the water to her house in case he has any kind of illness in his mouth or he's not clean, right? Is that a factor? Number three, is she a person with derech eretz, that she doesn't want to therefore embarrass him by spilling out the rest of the water in front of him? So if she says, and I will also give to your camels, so that shows that all three things check out, right? That she was willing to think ahead to let him even drink from the cod. He's that thirsty, number one. Number two, she's not worried about his illnesses. Number three, she won't embarrass him as a result of it by spilling it out. So therefore, she's offering this to the camels right then and there. It's a nice idea. Nice idea. She thought of that. Okay, Shelley, you have your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, okay, I have to ask you, there have to be some commentators that don't like this because it's too reminiscent of to me, of the story of Dinah, and then the story of Dinah going out to Shechem, the results, and then the commentators blame Leah for it. She's too she's too forward, she's too friendly. Well, as you started by saying, it would be highly unlikely, highly horrible for this young girl to talk to somebody. So
right, but he spoke to her. So just notice he initiated, but also there's a very big difference here between this and what happens with Dinah, which is an incredibly tragic story. We don't know all the circumstances, but it just tells that Dinah went out to see the people of the land. This is in the middle of Main Street. It's not a sequestered private area. We don't know. I mean, I don't know that I can really put the Dinah piece into this here. It seems that a lot of the women went out to Ubnot Ansheir, verse 13. The daughters were the ones who were the drawers of water. And it's the main area. It's not a secluded area. She wasn't there for socializing. She had a purpose. And this man interrupts her purpose by saying, could you please tip it over, and I'm going to drink from it, you know, and that's what he's going to ask her. Hatina kadech ve'eshteh ve'amra shteh, she'll say drink, v'gam gamalech ashken, she'll throw that in as well. So I don't know that I could throw in that this is like a Dinah street, but you're right. It is, as I said before, it's very unlikely that she would have initiated, and it must have been very uncomfortable to even have to respond to him, but he opened the conversation.
But it must have been, they must not have been able to eat. I mean, I would think that most people at that time, because of propriety, would not have even answered.
I don't know. She did answer, and there's no opprobrium leveled against her on account of that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Wait, Karen was next, and then hi, Helen, and then Helen after. Karen, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to say, I'm reminding myself, water's never just water. When they talk about water in the Torah, there's always something else
Symbolic,
going on.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we haven't been given the Torah yet, but still there's these Torah values. We're at the well. She is overflow. She has an overflow of water, which represents all of these qualities that he's searching for. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So water's not always water.
Good.
Well,
thank you.
Not only water.
Not only water, something in addition, another layer of what's going on. Yeah. Well said. Thank you. Helen? Good morning.
Eliezer is not a member of that community. Often I am standing there with my iPhone and I have very little expertise, and somebody nearby sees my frustration, comes over and helps me with the next step. So Eliezer is not in the community. He may not know how to open the well. He may not know the mores, who comes first, who comes second. She sees he's at a loss, that he doesn't know the name of the game of that community. She sees on his face, he doesn't know what to do next. So she comes over and she's a friendly neighbor and helps him. How can I help you? And that seems to be a very common courtesy thing to do.
I mean, there's a high degree of courtesy and care for an other who is a stranger. Right. I mean, Shelley, it's almost like counterpoint to what Shelley was saying, that it was so uncomfortable and strange that she should even answer, even engage, even converse. But as Helen, as you're pointing out, that's part of the issue, and being able to reach out. That's what the chesed is, and to overcome that, whatever the word is, awkwardness, to help another.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, he does not say she'll come over and volunteer it. He does say that I will say to her, tip your jug and I will drink. And she will say, drink, and also I will cause your camels to drink. That's the one that you've proven, you've demonstrated, clarified, right? for la'avdecha liYitzchak, for your servant Yitzchak. And uba eda, through her I will know ki asita chesed adoni. I'm gonna be aware. According to Rashi, uba eda is a lashon of techina. You have shown me, you've announced to me through her that you've done a chesed with my master. Yeah. So that's Rashi. In other words, the words here are still of prayer, petition, request that that if it turns out that when I then ask her who she is, according to Rashi, and it'll be clarified that that she is also from within the family, generally speaking, that'll cinch it. When I find that out, in other words, according to Rashi, he wants that piece. The Ramban says a little bit differently. This is not a manner of tefillah. It's just saying that after I've already davened, Avraham, that if it'll turn out that she is from his family and also that she has the smarts, that she is beautiful, so I'll know that you've done the chesed with my master. Others aver in a different direction that ba eda means that if she comes to me and happens upon me, like he's going to talk to one of the maidens. How's he going to choose who it is? It's going to be the one that's closest to him. The fact that she's the one who came closest and that she is going to agree to give me and my camel's water, that's the one. I'll know if it happens immediately that you've done the chesed. So different approaches, I guess. To the matter at hand. Shelley, your hand is still up. I don't know if you still want to comment or that was from before.
No, I thought I put it down. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. Just yeah, thanks. That way it doesn't get confusing. Okay. So we have a prohibition in the Torah in Parshat Kedoshim. It's not to be engaged in what's called nichush. Nichush means setting up signs and living our lives by those signs. It's a cloudy day. Rashi says we don't do business on a cloudy day. Black cat crossed my path. The superstitions, things like that. Setting up kind of like issues of that nature. The mitzvah is lo tenachashu. So the Rambam I have quoted here says, what is nachash? Like nichush, milashon nachash. People who say I was eating and the bread fell out of my hand, out of my mouth, or my staff fell down. I'm not going to go to such a place today. And if I go, I won't be successful. It's like a bad sign. Since A happened, right? I'm not gonna go to do B. I just can't. I'm stuck. So you should not do that. People hear a bird calling and they say, so something's gonna happen and such will not happen. All of these things. He goes on and on, different examples I have in front of me here, but all of this. Person is worthy of getting lashes for having violated any of these things. It's like not for a Jew to do. God's running the world. We don't have to make all kinds of signs and the like that are disconnected from reality, except for the reality we create for ourselves, kind of thing. It's not the way of Jewish people. So the Rambam is very, very directly says, what Eliezer did here, it was nichush, but he's not Jewish, and even though it will be forbidden for the Jewish people, it's before, and that's okay. The Gemara elsewhere in Sanhedrin, Chulin, will say specifically any nichush that's not like the way of Eliezer Eved Avram. And like Yonatan ben Shaul, there's also a nichush that goes on there. It's not really nichush. The Smag passes this way. This is across the board. So how can Eliezer be doing something that's contrary to the Torah? Torah wasn't given yet. It's an answer. It's an approach. And what's interesting though is that nonetheless he got what he wanted. And isn't this modeling for us? So it sounds like Chazal is saying like it's not really modeling for us. This is how the story went down, but it's only because Eliezer was the great student of Avraham that he let it happen this way. Don't forget, Avram didn't tell him to make up signs, do anything like this, right? He just said, it'll happen. You'll be successful. You'll be matzliach. You'll go, Shem will help you, he'll send his malach before you. You'll find. And then when he gets there, he starts figuring out like a whole sign, but how he's going to know, right? The Kesef Mishnah, one of the commentaries in the Rambam says that the nichush here was that he was relying on the sign that he made, and therefore, when the sign happened, his first reaction was to give the nose ring and the bracelets to Rivka before he asked the question, "Whose daughter are you?" And he found out she's related to Avram Avinu. Like that was the problem, right? But that the Rambam doesn't think Eliezer did anything wrong because he's a Ben Noach, and Bnei Noach, it's not forbidden for them to do nichush. And therefore, it was okay for him to do the nichush. In other words, according to the Kesef Mishnah, when the Rambam says that he engaged in nichush, the nichush was that he relied upon the sign to already give the gifts to assume this is her. But had he just looked to the sign as an opportunity and say to her, "Wait, whose daughter are you?" And she would have said, that would have been okay somehow. No. Now there are other explanations that explain it wasn't really nichush. The Gemara says so. But it's nichush from our vantage point, not from his vantage point. So some say that really he didn't really rely on the siman, and that he really had asked her before he gave her the ring and the bracelets. He already did ask her, "Whose daughter are you?" And there's no mukdam muchar b'Torah. The Torah says it in one order, but it's not that way. Right? Who says this? Tosfot say this. Masechet Chulin. Ibn Ezra says this. The Chiz Kuni says this. And you'll see further along in the Pesukim when we get there that there's something murky about the sequencing. The Radak writes that nichush is only forbidden when a person thinks that the acts that they are going to be doing are themselves causing other good things and other bad things in a superstitious way. But if a person says, "I want to do an action, and I'll do another action I will do an action, and something will result that will be a sign for that action in order to strengthen your heart, to inspire you, whatever it is," that is permissible. It's only if you're governed by, you're sort of trapped in this idea that like my walking stick fell down, I can't leave the house today. That's a bad sign. Bad things happen whenever it falls. What's the one shaykh to the other? Nothing. And the Radak seems to go a little bit in the direction of he was trying to figure out who's the right person, and Hashem sitting as malach in front of him, in front of Eliezer, did not mean that the woman was going to show up and say, "Hi, you looking for me?" But that he was still going to have to do something, Bahai Alma, in this world that was going to be bringing that circumstance about, so he would figure out who it is, and the confirmation finally comes. So whose daughter are you? But that's really what he had to get to. And how is he going to know who it was from all these young women who are all here, when all the maidens are going out to draw the water drawers? The Ran says, along the same lines, it's only nichush, it's only this prohibition if you have completely fixated your rationale for things on this happening, which is totally disconnected from anything that comes later, right? And a siman that logically there's really no connection that it should be causing something beneficial or something damaging or harmful, right? So one of the examples actually in the Rambam didn't say a black cat, it says a shual passes in front of your front door. It's, "I'm not going out today," because when the shual passes in front, it means something's crazy. It's not going to work out for me in the world today. I just better stay home. That's nonsense. That's not connected. But the siman that the Eved made was itself logical. It was going to show something about the character of this person. That's what he was trying to do, right? The only person that was going to find who was worthy of marrying his master's son, Yitzchak, is someone who has fine character, someone who's like his master's wife, Aleh Hashem, with Falut Chesed, right? An Eshet Chayil. Therefore, he took a siman that if she'll have good deeds and she presents in that way, to the point where she's thinking beyond the immediate request that's made. So she answers with generosity, "I will give to you and to your camels." So that's the one, Mina Shamayim, clearly for Yitzchak, because look at her characteristics. This is what the Maharal writes as well. And this is again along the lines of the Ibn Ezra. I don't see that much difference between the Radak and the Ran. It's just like the Radak thinks like your attachment to some cosmological outcome from this happening, that's the problem. And the Ran thinks it's when A and B are just totally disconnected, not related. And it's basically nonsensical connections. They're irrational connections. But when you have a logical reason for doing it, it adds up. Why am I doing this test? To see what her character is. That's the point. Again, how do these people reconcile the reality? The Gemara says he asked in an inappropriate way. Not sure, but the Gemara in Tani Daf Dalid seems to say like he didn't really do it the right way, but since he got pushed through anyway, got what he needed. And the Gemara in Chulin says it's real nichush what he did. So lo yodea. Some say that the reason why this isn't nichush, this is a beautiful, beautiful. The Meshivat Nafesh says the reason why this isn't a violation of nichush is very simply he never said it out loud. This is only you're listening to the heart and the thought of Eved Avram. And if you think it, that's not nichush. Nichush is when you verbalize it, when you make it manifest. And what did he really do? He thought in his heart, if this and this and this, and all he had to say was, please give me some water. And the rest happened after the fact. It sort of played out. The Bach in Yoredea writes, Rabbi Yoel Circus, he writes that actually there was no reliance on this sign whatsoever. That really everything he did was the Ruach HaKodesh, and he trusted in God and the merit of Avraham that he'll send a zivug hagun with an ace. Okay, I mean, yes, no. So if he wasn't relying on the sign, why did he make the sign? Seems a little bit forced. Say he relied on the sign, but presumably the idea is that maybe the sign itself was like from Hashem. It's as if he had said, Hashem will show me through this nichush the right way that I can be makayim this mitzvah to find this woman. Therefore, it's permissible in some way. It's not really nichush as such that it's in the service of a mitzvah. Again, how do you reconcile all this to Gemara and Tani Daf Daled? It says specifically he asked in an inappropriate way. I'm not sure. Helen, you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
I'm so sorry to be such a Badensky, but I think of Rachel and the Truffim, and what would be the difference that she was punished so severely for carrying the Truffim in her camel, and it's that she made the action that put her in a deeper trouble.
Yeah, but hold on, Helen. I mean, that terribly tragic story, which you're quite right about, is the reason the tragic dimension is that Yaakov Avinu had already said, whoever has the Truffim should die.
Oh.
Right? That's what makes it so tragic. Yeah, he had said to Lavan, why are you harassing me to such an extent? Why are you accusing me? Of course, no one is going to take your silly idols, basically, and whoever has it should die, because there's no way anyone took it. That's the tragedy of it. Little does he know that the person with the Truffim is Rachel, his beloved.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, in Vayetze. Anyway, that's all we have time for today, my friends. I have to run to another meeting, but on Thursday, please join us again. We'll be back to Malachim Aleph, the prayer of Shlomo HaMelech, continuing to learn about the various layers there. And God willing, we'll see each other next week again for the next installment of our shir. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Be well. Good to see everyone. Release your screens. Go to. You're welcome. Be well.